Snow explodes off a cliff face. Wings beat where air shouldn't exist. A shadow drifts across ice. Too calm, too big. No explanation. Just motion, just altitude. Just a place that seems unfinished. Like the world forgot to lower the difficulty setting and left the birds to deal with it. This is Western China, where mountains stack on mountains and oxygen becomes a suggestion. Wind never rests. Food barely exists. The ground itself feels temporary. Fragments of rock, frozen silence. A landscape that looks hostile even from space. And yet, life shows up anyway. Not cautiously, not briefly, but fully adapted. Feathers built for thin air. Lungs tuned for cold. Behaviors that feel unreasonable. These birds aren't just surviving up here. They're specializing in it. Turning emptiness into advantage. Turning altitude into a filter that keeps almost everything else out. Because when animals live at the edge of physics, rules start bending. Size gets weird. Colors stop making sense. Flight becomes optional or terrifyingly efficient. And suddenly you're not watching birds anymore. You're watching solutions, experiments, living proof that nature doesn't care what should exist. So the question isn't how they survive up here. It's why these mountains seem to create them. And what happens when nothing else can follow, except wings disappearing into white. Snow kicks up under frantic wings. Red flashes against white. And suddenly it's gone, like a dropped scarf sliding downhill. No warning, no dignity, just a bird sprinting through a place that actively hates legs. Awkward, loud, a mess. Meet the blood pheasant. Yes, that name, dramatic, and the look matches. Gray feathers splashed with crimson streaks, like it lost a fight with a paintbrush. Fragmented, loud. The kind of bird that looks permanently stressed, even when nothing is happening. Which is good, because something is always happening up here. Daily life is a grind, thin air, frozen ground, food that hides like it owes money. These birds don't soar heroically. They hustle, running more than flying, bursting into the air only when absolutely necessary. Short flights, heavy breathing, same energy as sprinting upstairs with groceries. Fragment, miserable efficiency, perfected. And then there's winter, months of it. Plants vanish, insects disappear. So the blood pheasant pivots, roots, shoots, whatever isn't frozen solid, digging through snow with a beak not designed for comfort. Persistence over elegance, fragment, survival through stubbornness. The most relatable strategy in biology. Here's the payoff. They change outfits with the mountains. As seasons shift, their colors subtly blend with rocks, snow, dead grass. Not invisible, just confusing. Predators hesitate. 1 second it's a bird, next second it's terrain. Fragment, camouflage as misdirection. Like blending into office politics by never standing out. And that's the trick. While bigger birds chase glory in the sky, this one stays low. Scrappy, unimpressive, still alive. Fragment. Because at altitude, drama gets you killed. And the blood pheasant learned that lesson early. Running downhill, red streaks fading into white. The ground suddenly moves. Rocks separate, snow breathes, and then it explodes upward in a panic of wings. No warning, no elegance, just chaos pretending to be geology. And for a second, your brain lags behind your eyes. Fragment. This is the snow partridge. A bird so committed to blending in that it basically opted out of being noticed at all. Gray on gray, stone on stone. The visual equivalent of unpaid overtime. You don't see it, you trip over it with your expectations. Life up here is quiet misery. No trees, no cover. Wind scraping your face raw. So instead of flying around like a show-off, the snow partridge hugs the ground. Walks, squats, freezes, motionless, like a bird-shaped thought you forgot mid-sentence. Predators scan, nothing registers, and the bird survives by being boring. Feeding isn't glamorous either. Dry grasses, seeds, whatever the plateau forgot to kill this week. No abundance, no choice. Just constant foraging in cold silence. Same routine, every day, like a job with no promotions and unlimited weather-related suffering. But here's where it gets cruelly clever. When danger finally gets too close, the snow partridge doesn't gently lift off. It detonates. A sudden vertical blast of wings and noise. Pure jump scare energy. Fragment. Predators flinch, brains reset. And in that half-second of confusion, the bird is already gone. And unlike birds that escape by distance, this one escapes by reappearing. It lands 10 meters away and instantly becomes a rock again. Not hidden, reclassified. Fragment. Your eyes slide right past it because your brain already decided the landscape. That's the payoff. At high altitude, speed isn't always the answer. Sometimes survival is patience so aggressive, it becomes strategy. Sometimes the smartest move is to become forgettable and let the mountain do the rest. A sharp whistle cuts through thin air. Echoes bounce off stone. And suddenly the cliff has opinions. Birds erupt from rock ledges like gravel with wings. Heavy, loud, unapologetic. Fragment. This is not graceful flight. This is gravity being negotiated. The Tibetan snowcock looks like a bird designed by a committee that never agreed. Big body, thick neck, stubby wings that seem wildly optimistic, like they're filing a formal complaint against physics. Light roast. It flies the way overworked employees take vacations, briefly, reluctantly, and only when forced. Daily life is blunt. These birds live above the tree line, where oxygen is scarce and slopes feel vertical even when they aren't. Walking is the default. Flying is expensive, so they hike slowly, methodically, burning calories just to stay upright. Fragment. Every step feels like interest payments on survival. Food is sparse and rude. Alpine plants, tough grasses, things that crunch back. They feed in flocks, not for friendship, for vigilance. One bird eats, another watches, another panics early. Like coworkers sharing stress instead of snacks. It works, barely. Here's the payoff: sound. Tibetan snowcocks are loud. Whistles carry for kilometers in thin air. Alarm calls that ripple across entire valleys. Not subtle, not polite, but up here, volume beats stealth. Fragment. If danger appears anywhere, everyone knows immediately. And when escape finally happens, they don't climb. They drop, launching downhill in long, controlled descents, trading altitude for speed. No flapping heroics, just gravity doing the heavy lifting, like quitting a bad job by taking the stairs all the way down. That's the lesson. At extreme altitude, efficiency beats elegance. Wings aren't for showing off, they're for exiting fast. And the Tibetan snowcock doesn't argue with the mountain. It uses it, then disappears, whistling echoing long after the rocks look quiet again. Wind roars through a chute of stone. Feathers rattle, and a massive bird steps to the edge like it's checking the weather before jumping. No hesitation, no drama, just a pause. Then gravity gets hired. The Himalayan snowcock is built like a flying filing cabinet. Big, solid, dense. The kind of bird that looks like it should live permanently on the ground, filing complaints about slopes. Light roast. Its wings seem less like tools and more like permissions it uses sparingly. Daily life is a slow grind across brutal terrain. Steep inclines, loose rock. Thin air that makes every movement feel taxed. So it walks, a lot. Hiking ridgelines with the energy of someone who's late but refuses to run. Fragment. Flight is reserved for emergencies or efficient exits. Food doesn't cooperate. Alpine plants cling to life like they're not sure they're allowed to be here. So the snowcock eats what's available: tough shoots, bitter greens, nutrition by obligation, not joy. It feeds in groups, not for bonding, but because more eyes means fewer surprises. Up here, surprise is fatal. Here's the payoff: Control. When threatened, the Himalayan snowcock doesn't panic upward. It falls with intention, launching off cliffs into long, shallow glides, barely flapping, converting altitude into distance like a seasoned accountant. Fragment. While predators struggle to follow, it's already halfway down the mountain. And when it lands, it doesn't hide. It just keeps walking, calm, heavy, unbothered. The mountain becomes cover simply because no one wants to chase something that comfortable with cliffs. That's the trick. At high altitude, survival isn't about speed or beauty. It's about confidence in bad terrain, knowing the drop won't kill you, and trusting gravity more than wings. As the snowcock vanishes downslope, footsteps fading into wind. Something huge glides overhead, silent, patient, casting a shadow that feels deliberate. No flapping, no rush. Just a bird circling like it already knows how this ends. Fragment. This is the bearded vulture. And first impression, unsettling. Long wings, rust-stained chest, eyes that look permanently unimpressed. The kind of bird that seems less alive and more in charge. Light roast. It doesn't soar like an eagle. It haunts the airspace. Daily life revolves around one thing most animals politely avoid. Bones. Not meat, not scraps. Bones. The leftovers nobody wants. While other scavengers fight and scream, the bearded vulture waits, because time is on its side. Fragment. Patience as a feeding strategy. Here's the absurd part. It can't crack big bones with its beak, so instead it flies high, very high, carrying them like awkward luggage, then drops them, over and over, until gravity does the work. Fragment. The mountain becomes a tool. Physics becomes dinner. And when the bone finally shatters, it eats the marrow. Dense, fat-rich. Fuel that works in cold, thin air. This isn't desperation, it's specialization. While others compete for flesh, this bird survives on what's literally indigestible to everyone else. Workplace politics, but with calcium. Even its color is intentional. That rusty orange chest, not natural pigment, it stains its feathers with mineral-rich mud, signaling health, dominance, maybe confidence. Fragment. Like wearing the same jacket every day until it becomes part of your reputation. The payoff is control. No rushing, no fighting, no wasted energy. In a place where calories are currency, this bird invented a private economy because at altitude, the smartest survivor isn't the fastest hunter. It's the one that waits, lets gravity work overtime, and eats what the mountains leave behind. A shadow stretches across the slope, wider than expected, then wider still, until the sun itself seems briefly inconvenienced. No wing beats, no sound, just a massive shape sliding through thin air. Fragment. The Himalayan griffin doesn't fly so much as occupy the sky. Enormous wings, pale feathers that glow against rock and ice. A bird that looks less like an animal and more like a weather system that learned patience. Light roast. If confidence had a wingspan, this would be it. Daily life is all about efficiency. Food is unpredictable. Oxygen is scarce. So flapping is a last resort. Instead, the griffin rides thermals with monk-like restraint, circling, rising, drifting, letting warm air do unpaid labor. Fragment. Calories saved are calories survived. Feeding is blunt. When something dies up here, it doesn't go unnoticed. Griffins appear in numbers, silent at first, then suddenly everywhere. No dramatic dives, no combat theatrics, just methodical tearing, teamwork without conversation, like co-workers who don't like each other but understand the deadline. And here's the strange payoff. Vulnerability through size. These birds are so big they struggle to take off from flat ground. If they land wrong, they're stuck. So they choose cliffs, edges, drop-offs, always one step from falling, because falling is safer than needing to run. Fragment. Gravity as an emergency exit. Even nesting follows the same logic. Colonies cling to sheer rock faces where almost nothing else can reach. Not hidden, just inaccessible. The mountain itself becomes security. No locks required. What you're watching isn't dominance. It's optimization taken to an extreme. Every behavior trimmed down to what works at altitude. No waste, no drama, no panic. Because when survival depends on energy accounting, the Himalayan griffin doesn't chase food. It waits above it, floating, watching, letting the mountain decide when it's time. And when it is, those vast wings tilt once, and the shadow descends. A blur drops out of the sun, air tears itself apart, and something hits the slope hard enough to echo. No warning, no second pass, just impact, fragment. This is the golden eagle, and unlike the other giants up here, this one isn't patient. It's precise. Broad wings, sharp gaze. The kind of bird that looks calm only because everything else is already late. Light roast. It has the posture of someone who's never missed a deadline and remembers who has. Daily life is built around pressure. Thin air steals lift. Mountains steal visibility. Prey appears briefly, then vanishes behind rock. So the eagle adapts by committing fully. It doesn't hover. It doesn't hesitate. When it moves, it commits with interest. Fragment. Hunting as decisive action. Up here, meals fight back. Marmots bite, hares zigzag. Even birds know the terrain better than it should be legal. The golden eagle answers by using height like leverage. It climbs patiently, waits, then folds its wings and drops. Not falling, aiming. Speed replaces strength. Gravity replaces effort. Here's the payoff. Vision. This eagle can spot movement from absurd distances. Details shrinking into dots that still matter. Fragment. While everything else reacts late, the golden eagle is already adjusting angle, speed, timing, mid-dive, mid-chaos. But altitude doesn't forgive mistakes. Miss once, and the climb back up costs everything. So experience matters. Older birds hunt smarter, not harder. Fewer dives, better angles. Like professionals who've learned that effort isn't the flex, accuracy is, and that's the difference. Where vultures wait and snowcocks walk, the golden eagle decides. It turns mountains into launch platforms, turns gravity into a weapon. Because at the roof of the world, hesitation is expensive, and the golden eagle doesn't do expensive, it does final. A gray rock suddenly opens its wings. Red flashes spill across stone, then snap shut, and the wall is a wall again. No buildup, no announcement. Just a glitch in the cliff. Fragment. This is the wallcreeper. And yes, that is a bird, not a leaf, not a butterfly having an identity crisis. A bird that looked at vertical rock and said, fine. Light roast. It lives its entire life like it's late for a meeting that's scheduled on a sheer cliff face. Everything about its routine feels quietly unreasonable. Instead of trees, it uses walls. Instead of branches, cracks. It hops sideways, upwards, downwards, clinging with toes built for stone, not comfort. Fragment. Watching it move feels like watching someone ignore stairs out of pure spite. Feeding is meticulous misery. Tiny insects hiding in microscopic crevices. No swooping, no chasing, just inching along cold rock for hours. Peck, pause, peck. Like proofreading a document written by the mountain. Calories come one typo at a time. And then there are the wings, normally folded, invisible, sensible gray. But when it flies, briefly, they explode open in red and black, like warning flags you weren't supposed to see. Fragment. It's not for predators, it's not for show, it's disorientation, a sudden visual interruption, then silence. Here's the payoff. Efficiency through obsession. While other birds waste energy commuting between perches, the wallcreeper lives where the food already is. No competition, no crowding, just solitude and vertical real estate nobody else wants. Like renting the worst apartment in the building and realizing it's quiet on purpose. Even nesting follows the same logic. Deep cracks, hidden ledges, Places that feel unfinished, but safe. Not cozy, not scenic, just secure enough. That's the trick. At altitude, survival doesn't always mean getting bigger or faster. Sometimes it means choosing a life so specific, so inconvenient, that nothing bothers to follow. And when those red wings vanish again, you're left staring at rock, wondering how long the bird was there before you noticed it breathe. A sudden whoop slices through the forest, then another, then silence, like the mountain cleared its throat and decided against speaking. You never see the bird, you just feel judged. Fragment. This is the koklass pheasant, and visually, underwhelming on purpose. Earth-toned, subtle, respectfully dull. The kind of bird that dresses like it's trying not to be remembered. Light roast. If camouflage had social anxiety, this would be it. Its daily life is a masterclass in staying off the radar. Dense forests, steep slopes, low light. The koklass doesn't strut, it threads, slipping through undergrowth, hugging shadows, freezing at the slightest disturbance. Fragment. Movement is cautious, flight is rare, noise is accidental, except when it isn't. Because here's the strange contradiction. During breeding season, this shy bird turns into a foghorn. Males unleash loud, echoing calls that bounce through valleys. Bold, repetitive, impossible to ignore. Fragment. It's like whispering all year, then suddenly shouting your resume into the mountains. Why risk it? Because females are listening, and visibility is terrible. Sound travels better than feathers ever could. So the koklass trades secrecy for volume, briefly, then disappears again, as if embarrassed by the whole thing. Feeding is quiet persistence, seeds, leaves, whatever the forest floor didn't lock away. No dramatic hunts, no competition scenes, just constant foraging under cover, like grocery shopping during a storm to avoid crowds. Here's the payoff: restraint. While flashier pheasants gamble with color and display, the koklass survives by knowing when not to be impressive. It saves energy, avoids conflict, lives longer than its drama budget would suggest. Fragment. Stability over spectacle. At altitude, attention is dangerous, and this bird understands that better than most. It speaks only when it has to, stays hidden when it can, and lets the forest do the talking. So when that call fades back into silence, don't look for the bird. It's already gone, and it was never planning to be seen anyway. Color moves where it absolutely shouldn't. White flares through shadow. A tail unspools like it missed the memo about subtlety. Fragment. For a second, the forest looks decorated. Then it snaps back to serious. This is Lady Amherst's pheasant. And yes, it looks expensive. Long striped tail, black and white cape, red accents placed with intent. Light roast. This bird appears dressed for a formal event that no one else knew about, in a mountain forest. On a weekday, daily life, however, is not glamorous. Steep slopes, dense undergrowth, cold mornings. The pheasant spends most of its time on the ground, walking carefully, tail dragging like a receipt no one asked for. Fragment. Flying is brief and loud, an emergency option, not a lifestyle. Feeding is humble. Seeds, berries, leaves, whatever the forest floor didn't already reclaim. No spotlight, no applause, just constant foraging under cover. Because up here, attention attracts problems. And this bird already has a visibility issue, which makes the breeding season awkward. When it's time to impress, the male steps into small clearings and performs. Tail fanned, body angled. Colors suddenly unavoidable. Fragment. It's a full reveal in a place that punishes confidence. The payoff? Precision. The display isn't random, it's controlled. Short, calculated, just enough to be noticed. Not enough to linger. Females choose, predators hesitate. The forest swallows the color again, like changing clothes in a moving elevator. Here's the irony. All that beauty isn't for dominance or intimidation. It's for clarity. In low light and cluttered terrain, bold patterns cut through confusion. Fragment. Being seen clearly, briefly, is safer than being half noticed for too long. That's the balance. At altitude, excess is dangerous, unless it's deployed with discipline. Lady Amherst's pheasant doesn't live flashy, it lives careful, saving the spectacle for the exact moment it matters, then folding it away, tail trailing, color gone, as the forest pretends nothing extraordinary just passed through. Wind drags snow sideways across an open plateau. Nothing breaks the horizon until a line of white shapes starts walking through it. Not flying, walking, calm, deliberate, like the weather scheduled a meeting. Fragment. This is the white-eared pheasant, and immediately it looks out of place. Bright white feathers, black tail, red facial skin that never bothered to be subtle. Light roast. This bird chose the boldest possible color palette for a landscape that actively erases contrast. Daily life happens in groups, big ones. These pheasants move together across alpine grasslands and snowy slopes, feeding, resting, relocating, like a committee that refuses to split up. Fragment. Safety through numbers, because up here, solitude gets expensive fast. They don't rely on speed or flight. Flying is rare, heavy, loud, the biological equivalent of paying extra fees. Instead, they walk, miles at a time, digging through snow for roots, tubers, buried plants, persistence over drama. The kind of work that doesn't look impressive, but keeps you alive all winter. Here's the counterintuitive payoff. Visibility. That white plumage isn't hiding anything. In snow, it blends. In rock and grass, it doesn't. And that's the point. Predators see them early, from far away, which triggers early decisions. Chase a group of alert birds or move on. Fragment. Deterrence by confidence. Even their social behavior reflects this. Sentinels watch while others feed. Alarm calls ripple fast. No panic. Just coordinated response. Like coworkers who actually train for emergencies and didn't skip the meeting. And when danger presses too close, they don't scatter. They compress, tighten ranks, walk faster. Flight stays optional. Gravity stays untouched. That's the lesson. At extreme altitudes, survival doesn't always mean vanishing. Sometimes it means being obviously present, together, daring the mountain, and anything hunting on it, to decide whether the effort is worth it. And as the flock keeps moving through the snow, white shapes dissolving into white ground, you realize they were never trying to hide. They were betting you'd do the math and leave them alone. A flicker of blue slips through frost-shadowed brush. Gone, then back again. Not dramatic, not loud. Just a color that shouldn't be here. Checking the temperature and pretending it meant to come. Fragment. This is the Himalayan bluetail, and at first glance, it feels like a mistake. Small body, electric bluetail, soft orange chest, light roast. It looks like a tropical bird that missed a connecting flight and decided to stay, in the cold, on purpose. Daily life is quiet, almost apologetic. While bigger birds argue with cliffs and gravity, the bluetail works the understory. Low branches, leaf litter, snow-dusted ground. It hops, pauses, listens. Fragment. Insects, larvae, whatever didn't get the memo about winter. Feeding is careful, efficient. No wasted movement, no show. And that tail, absurdly blue. It flashes when the bird flicks it open. A quick signal, then disappears again. Not for display, not for flirting. It's communication, a way to say occupied or moving or don't panic. Fragment. Color used like punctuation. Brief, intentional, then gone. Cold is the real tax. Thin air pulls heat fast, so the bluetail adapts by staying low, sheltered, close to cover. It forages in short bursts, then rests. Energy budgeting like someone checking their bank app after every purchase. Flight is short. Perches are chosen carefully. Nothing is wasted. Here's the payoff. Precision. This bird doesn't compete with the giants. It doesn't challenge the mountain. It fits between things. Spaces others ignore. Times of day others avoid. While predators scan the open slopes. The bluetail is already behind them, working quietly in the margins. And that color? In low light against shadow and snow, it confuses depth. A flash that doesn't linger, fragment. You notice it, then question whether you did. That's the trick. At altitude, survival isn't always about toughness. Sometimes it's about restraint, so disciplined it looks fragile. About being small enough to slip through the cracks, bright enough to speak when necessary, and quiet enough that the mountain never bothers to answer back. A final flick of blue, then nothing. Just cold air, settling, as if the bird was never there at all. Tiny shapes bounce across a frozen ridge. Hop, pause, hop, like punctuation marks blown loose by the wind. No flare, no announcement, just birds doing math in the cold fragment. This is the alpine accentor, and visually, forgettable. Brown, streaked, average in every direction. Light roast. It looks like the default setting for a bird you didn't customize, which is exactly why it works. Daily life is relentless logistics. High ridges, exposed slopes, wind that never clocks out. The accentor doesn't migrate far or escape the season. It endures it, foraging nonstop for seeds, crumbs of plant matter, whatever didn't freeze solid. Hop, peck, swallow, repeat, fragment. Survival as routine. But here's where it gets quietly unhinged. Social chaos. During breeding season, alpine accentors abandon polite bird rules entirely. Multiple males, multiple females. Mating overlaps in every direction. No neat pairs, no clear lines. Just a complex, awkward network of relationships that looks like a group project nobody planned properly. Fragment. Biology said, figure it out. Why tolerate the mess? Because up here, cooperation beats romance. Shared territories, shared vigilance, shared survival. Even the parenting gets blurry. More adults, more eyes, more chances the chicks make it through weather that actively resents them. Flight stays minimal. Short hops, low arcs, nothing flashy. Energy is guarded like emergency savings. Perches are chosen for shelter, not views. And when storms hit, they don't flee. They hunker down together. Fluff feathers, ride it out. Fragment, endurance through proximity. Here's the payoff. Resilience without drama. While larger birds gamble on cliffs and thermals, the alpine accentor wins by staying small, flexible, and socially tolerant. No dominance displays, no territorial screaming, just persistence layered on persistence. At extreme altitude, being impressive is optional. Being adaptable is not. So while the wind howls and giants circle overhead, these little birds keep hopping, unbothered, uncelebrated, still there. Fragment. Because the mountain doesn't reward spectacle, it rewards whatever refuses to leave. A heavy silhouette lifts off a frozen pole. Wings strain, then catch, and suddenly the bird is just there, hanging in the cold air like it forgot to come down. No rush, no elegance, just commitment, fragment. This is the upland buzzard, and immediately it feels underwhelming. Big body, pale feathers, broad wings that look slightly overworked. Light roast. It has the energy of a bird that shows up early, stays late, and never once calls it a passion. Daily life is survival by patience. Open plateaus, bitter wind. Prey that plays dead just to avoid being noticed. The buzzard doesn't dive like an eagle. It waits, perched on rocks, poles, anything vertical in a horizontal world. Scanning slowly, methodically. Fragment. Hunting as endurance sport. Food is whatever makes a mistake. Rodents, small mammals. Sometimes already dead things. No specialization drama. No brand identity. Just calories. Because up here, flexibility matters more than pride. The buzzard will take what the landscape offers, without complaining. Cold is constant. Thermals are weak. So flight is strategic, short climbs, long glides, circles that look lazy but are carefully calculated. Every wing beat costs something. Fragment. Energy accounting in real time. Here's the payoff. Tolerance. This bird thrives where others quit. Open, exposed land with nowhere to hide and nothing to block the wind. While flashier raptors migrate or stick to dramatic cliffs, the upland buzzard stays, winter included. It adjusts its posture, its schedule, its expectations. Even nesting reflects this mindset. Nests on cliffs, trees, man-made structures, whatever works. No rules, no aesthetics, just stability, like renting based on insulation, not the view. That's the lesson. At altitude and latitude, survival doesn't always belong to the fastest or the smartest. Sometimes it belongs to the one willing to be adequate for the longest possible time. And as the buzzard drifts back down onto its perch, feathers ruffled, eyes scanning, it doesn't look triumphant. It looks ready to do this again tomorrow, and the day after, and the one after that, until the mountain gets tired first. A white shape lifts out of blowing snow, wings wide, face blank, like the storm itself decided to pause and look back at you. No sound, no rush, just silence, growing feathers. Fragment. This is the snowy owl, and yes, it feels misplaced. Massive, bright white, built for open tundra, not mountain plateaus. Light roast. It looks like an idea that wandered too far south and refused to turn around. Yet here it is, calm, unbothered, judging. Daily life runs on cold logic. These owls don't hide in trees. There aren't many. They sit in the open, on rocks, on ground, on nothing in particular, waiting, watching. Fragment. Stillness as a hunting strategy. While the wind screams, the owl listens, feeding his blunt efficiency, rodents, birds, anything careless enough to move against the snow. The snowy owl hunts by sight and sound, ears tuned to faint movement under ice, eyes catching contrast where nothing should stand out. Fragment. The world whispers. The owl answers. Flight is heavy but deliberate. Long wings built for gliding low over open ground. No dramatic dives, no cliff launches, just controlled passes back and forth, like scanning a spreadsheet for errors until something finally blinks. Here's the strange payoff. Confidence through exposure. That white plumage doesn't hide in snowstorms. It owns them. In blowing snow, contrast collapses, depth disappears, predators hesitate, prey misjudges distance. Fragment. Visibility becomes unreliable, and the owl thrives in that uncertainty. Cold doesn't bother it. Thick feathers. Insulation that laughs at wind. When storms hit, it doesn't flee, it waits, because storms flush prey. Mistakes happen. The owl collects them, and unlike most birds on this list, it doesn't look tense, or hurried, or stressed by altitude. It looks patient, like time works for it, not against it. That's the final note. At the edge of survival, most animals scramble. The snowy owl doesn't. It slows everything down, turns chaos into cover, turns emptiness into opportunity. And as it settles back into the snow, eyes open, body still, the landscape stops feeling empty. It feels watched. The wind keeps moving, even when everything else stops. Feathers settle, wings fold, and the mountains, indifferent, remain exactly where they were. Fragment. What ties these birds together isn't strength or beauty, it's acceptance. Each one made a deal with altitude. Fewer options, harsher rules, no room for mistakes. And instead of fighting that reality, they leaned into it. Hard, some became quieter, some heavier, some stranger. Some learned to wait longer than seems reasonable. Fragment. None of them look comfortable. And that's the point. Comfort doesn't exist up here. Only adaptation does. And that leaves an uncomfortable thought hanging in the thin air. If life can reshape itself this completely, just to stay, what else is the mountain still shaping? Quietly. Right now. Because the snow will fall again. The wind won't soften. And somewhere above the tree line, wings will open, not to escape, but to belong. Fragment.